This is the Authentic Dating series brought to you by Ahmad and David,
where we explore what it takes to have a dating life you're excited about.
Hey guys, I'm David.
I'm Ahmad.
And this is the Authentic Dating series. So we're probably going to give you a little bit of quick info about ourselves and why we run this podcast. We are two former dating coaches who, about 10 years ago, we spent a lot of time coaching men in and around London, actually internationally, London and parts of Europe, around dating and connecting with women and getting to know themselves a bit better, and around kind of sex and intimacy as well.
Yeah, and we've also done a fuck ton of self-development work.
That's a dictionary term, fuck ton.
Yeah, it's a metric. It's a metric term. We've done, we've really spent a large part of our lives seeking out how to affect change in our lives, and then also teaching other people how to affect change, and just really learning what it is to be a human being, being in touch with ourselves, discovering ourselves, whatever other sort of word you want to use. But we spent time and energy on that, and I think the thing that David and I are really good at, and we have in common, I'm Ahmad by the way, is that we love to teach, we love to share our knowledge, and we find that we're very good at it, teaching, sharing the knowledge. And so as much as this is a podcast about dating, we ourselves, we just want to help people live better, do better, have more exciting lives, and especially in their dating life. Yeah,
and just kind of learn to know oneself more, so one can be expressing themselves in the world more authentically. Especially, that's a big thing for us, is being able to live authentically instead of out of maybe fear or worry of judgment, or living out of what other people telling you should be.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of hand movements and gestures that you can't see right now. So that gives you a little intro into us, because I think we haven't really done that since our first episode.
You may not listen to that. So
it's our first episode called
Dating's Not Just About Dating.
Yes, and it's so true.
And here we are now on this episode, and we are going to talk to you about something that a lot of men like to know. A lot of women do know, but a lot of men don't know. Can you guess what it is?
No, I don't know.
And it's how to tell if a woman likes you.
Yeah, this is...
I'm talking to you.
I think this is probably, the most Googled thing about dating, I'd say, online. We did look at Google, and it's a massively looked for, and something that you always hear these conversations amongst men, or where they're going, I'm not sure she likes me. Oh, I'm not sure. I don't know what to do. So once you've listened to this, you won't have that problem anymore.
And on that point as well, it's like, when we did look online, there's about 1 million different pointers, from whether she's touching her hair, or her pupils are dilating, or there was even one about her vagina being wet.
Yes. The vagina being wet, which obviously is a bit of a harder one to spot.
Indeed.
If you're both fully clothed.
So we decided in this particular episode to focus on the obvious signs, the things that you can easily pick up on. And these are actually often signs. They're so obvious. They are so obvious, but most men don't notice. They ignore, they overlook, they don't see. It just doesn't register in their minds that this is how a woman communicates that she likes you.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to note, before we get into the points, that you need to take the points that we're about to say and kind of bring them into the whole of your interaction with a woman, or the lack of interaction possibly you've had. I take them into a whole, and not just take them complete on their isolated selves, because you might get a bit confused running around with some of these, but you have to take them as a kind of holistic view of your interactions, or some of them might surprise you because they might be around your lack of interaction as well.
Yeah, and that's actually a really important point, because I mentioned we've decided to discuss today the obvious signs that most men just don't see, and so they're happening and you're not seeing. And I know from my own experience, very embarrassingly, that I've been in that situation where it's been obvious, but I just didn't see. And then I'm asking someone for advice. Oh, how do I know whether this girl liked me? And they're like, dude, that was so obvious. You just didn't see it.
Yeah.
And we're going to go into these today. That's what we're going to talk about. We're not going to talk about difficult ones like the wet vagina.
Yeah.
We're going to go for ones that you can actually see and notice. So the important thing here is first to say, why do men not notice? And David, is bemused by this because David's always been good at noticing when women like him.
I'm really good at noticing when women like other people I'm with. I'm not always so I don't always see for myself. Sometimes I'm a bit oblivious, but it's always easy to see if you're with a friend and you see some kind of things going on with the girls around you. It's very obvious to see for someone else, but often sometimes it's hard to see for yourself. And these are the reasons why.
Well, there you go. So I was surprised to hear Dave even say that. So then the reason why is, number one, is you're just not being present in the moment, Dave. Because if you're being present, you'll notice the queue of girls behind you following you around. But genuinely, like for most men out there, and when we're out, and whether we're with friends or wherever we are, we're not actually present in the moment. And if we're not present in the moment, like we're obviously here. I'm obviously here right now. But if I'm not present, that means like mentally, I'm in my head. I'm thinking about something. I'm distracted. And for a lot of guys, I know this from all our years of coaching, is that they're in their heads, or you're in your head, and your main concern is about how you perceive yourself, or that you're not good enough, or the situation's not good enough, or something's wrong. And so then you're not actually seeing the girls, you're not seeing who's looking, you're not seeing what's going on. And we equate this by and large down to our good old friend Mr. Shookman, who again, episode 2,
your fearful inner voice that could be ruining your dating life, where we go into a lot more detail about Shookman. But for a quick recap, Shookman is that little voice in your head that tells you what you can't do, what you're useless at. And he loves to distract you from being in the present moment, actually.
Yeah, exactly. It completely takes you out and you're in your head and you just don't actually see the obvious thing. Now, the second thing, and it's also related to Shookman and what he tells you, is that a lot of men are actually concerned about looking at women. And so there may be a woman present, but if you're not looking, you're not going to see any signs, are you? So it's very hard to see something and you're looking in the opposite direction.
It's really hard to see something if you're not looking at it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, you cross the road and you're looking at your phone and you get hit by a car. And it's like, you wouldn't have been hit by that car if you were looking at the cars in the road.
You know what, Dave? I think looking at your phone is another reason why people are missing the obvious signs. You're too busy looking at your phone and not looking at the world around you to notice that there are other people looking at you.
Totally.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the first signs is a woman looking at you.
Yeah. This seems so basic, doesn't it, really? That, I see this kind of all the time where there's guys in the bar, or there's girls in the bar, girls and guys in the bar. And the guy, he likes said girl, but he's so afraid to look at her. He's so afraid to kind of look at a woman that you find attractive or you desire, because of whatever story you tell yourself that you shouldn't look. They don't want you to be looking, or if she sees you looking, this is an interesting one. If a woman sees you looking, then she's going to think a certain way about you. Like you're strange, you're weird. And I find this one to be the most hilarious reason not to look at a woman, because if you don't look at her, she'll never know, right? Or, there's nothing wrong with looking. I'm not talking about staring. Staring's a different thing. If you're staring at people for, minutes on end, that could be definitely seen a bit weird. But if you're kind of fixing your eyes on someone for 4, 5, 6 seconds and then looking away the rest of the room, there's nothing weird in that. You see something that catches your eye and you look at it. Or in this case, I don't like to say it, I'm referring to women, but you look at her.
Yeah, and I think another interesting point about that is, why is this such a obvious sign? Is women know this. So when women look as well, they don't often look for long.
I had to reach forward with that.
Yeah. He was sat back. He really liked that point.
I like that one.
Yeah, but they don't look for long. So if you're not looking at them and they notice you, they glance. It's a very cursory glance, and even at the longest amount of time, they're not going to stare at you. They may look multiple times, but so my point here is, a woman knows this, and so she wouldn't look at you, especially not repeatedly, unless she liked you, or there is a chance that she thinks you're some sort of danger or threat that she needs to keep an eye on you. But
if you're carrying a knife, and then that could be the problem.
But no, in this case, we're talking in general, where we're talking to the normal folk out there. You're out and about, and so I'm just making it very clear here from the other side of the table, so to speak, that when a woman is looking, then she knows that it's a danger for her to be looking, and it's like, it should be kind of like vying for your attention.
In a way, it's quite a vulnerable act, right?
Yeah,
For women to do.
exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
She's putting herself out there, and also she's using that as a way of conveying interest, right? Exactly. Yeah. She's saying, "Oh, I like you," but that kind of winky eye look, the double wink eye.
Well, so the way I know David used to say this a long time ago, and he still holds it dear to his heart, which is when a woman looks longer than is necessary.
Yeah, it's that kind of, you only need to glance at someone for probably half a second if you're just looking around the room.
Yeah, checking someone out.
Yeah, but if they, someone settles their eyes on you, just for that little tad longer than is necessary.
How long would you say?
I'd say it can be like a second. Where you kind of, and often it's as a man, you kind of look around the room and you're looking at eyes, hopefully you're looking at eye level, and you kind of catch a woman looking at you, but you catch her eyes and she catches yours, and you resist. What's really important here is to resist the urge to look away. Just hold it and until she looks away. And then you've really got your confirmation of interest, and then you can run over with your situational opener and ask her if she prefers lemons or limes or whatever. No, I'm joking. You just, stroll on over, right? Get from A to B as fast as possible. Not too quick, because that could be weird if you run.
Well, actually, it depends on the person. I used to love just running across into a group, all sorts, high energy. That's my vibe. But yeah, so that's one mode. Another thing about looking, and we broke this down into a few different categories. So looking is one thing, and eye contact is very, very telling. And so another scenario with regard to looking is if you're actually in a conversation with a woman and you notice what would be referred to as the puppy dog eyes, that kind of, they're really just taken aback or
taken.
They're really just taken by, who you are, your expression. And what that means is they're really looking at you longingly. And it's hard to convey, without showing you over the podcast. But the sense of it here is they're really giving you a full attention, and they're kind of almost kind of lost in your present sort of look, right? So it's really being, it's almost like they're surrendered. Yeah,
it's kind of that look of, they're talking, but you almost feel like they're maybe not really listening to what you're saying anymore, but they're still looking at you. Yeah, and there's like a kind of a smile, and it's wide-eyed, and as Ahmad said in the introduction, maybe the pupils are dilated.
It's not so easy to
detect
without a ruler,
especially when it's dark. This is a kind of old school PRA trick, is to look for dilated pupils, and I'd always find it quite funny because there's so many other reasons that eyes could be dilated. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know the full range, but
just to rein it back into that, just to make a point on this though, is also that this is like a major sign, especially if you're in contrast to what we were saying earlier about a woman just looking at you. In this particular case, if you're in a conversation, and this, we wrote this down earlier because David was actually saying he went on a date just the other day, and a girl was looking at him. I just exposed Dave and his dates. He was looking very concerned, but a woman she looked at him in that way, and it was an indication. But don't worry, if you're thinking it's you he went on a date with, it probably wasn't you, it was another girl. I'm sure that sorted that one out.
No, but it's in conversation, in a bar or a club or I don't know, business meeting, or you're at a seminar or something, you're talking to a woman, you see this look and it's like, okay, cool. It's just to watch out for and give your attention to that.
Yeah, and the great thing about looking, and I know we're laboring this one quite a bit, but it's actually very interesting because it's involuntary. It's something that people don't do with control. It's not like I'm going to, look longer than necessary.
I'm going to look longingly at you, Ahmad.
Yeah, there you go.
I look very longingly at you.
It happens from deep inside, from an emotional state that they are interested, they're keen, and it's biological. It just happens. So this is why we're giving it a lot of focus right here, because it's one that's so obvious and it gets overlooked. Yeah, excuse the pun.
Pun.
It wasn't supposed to be.
So our next main point, which would be point 2, is giving attention. This can be as simple as what we used to call years ago standing around and kind of wanting to talk more. just being there, just being in your presence. If you've started to talk to a woman, like I said, I like to give the example of kind of seminars, because I think a lot of people attend talks and seminars these days. And, they're standing talking to you. They don't need to stand and talk to you. They can go and talk to someone else. They could go and be somewhere else. But if she's still standing in front of you and talking to you, then this is a sign of some interest. It may be just that they're interested in what you might have to say next, but it's definitely a sign of interest.
The next thing around giving you attention, and this is another one which, again, it seems so subtle and it seems so, I guess, non-obvious. But the more you get into communicating and conversing, you really start to understand that girls don't just give attention out willy-nilly,
because they got time, they got things to do.
It's and just to give this an example, it's a bit like girls don't go onto Tinder and just message guys randomly. They only message the ones that they're interested in.
Yeah.
Because messaging random guys is only going to cause them mayhem when they get 1,000 messages back and have to employ someone to deal with the influx of messages.
You can actually employ people to do your Tinder for you.
It costs money though, so they don't want to do that. So my point is here is so especially in person, if you're in a scenario, whether it be at work, whether you're in a bar, wherever you're out, or whatever, and you find that there is a woman and she's asking you questions, she wants to know more, giving you more attention, then there is a high chance that she's actually interested in you and she likes you. I actually had this happen to me the other day. Very rare occurrence, I must say, these days.
It's given the old, no one likes me anymore.
No. Well, no, I didn't say that. No one said. No one. Did anyone hear that? No,
I heard that.
That's what you heard, Dave. But it just happened the other day where I was doing some work in a coffee shop, and as I was about to leave, this woman came over and asked me. She asked if I would like to have tea with her. I explained that I was just leaving and stuff, but then she continued, with the questions. And I mean, if it wasn't obvious enough with regards to the fact she came over,
well, she approached you. I think that's pretty obvious.
It was pretty obvious from that point. But
I like to say, full marks, hats off to her. Really honor her for doing that, for approaching a man. Not enough women do that at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I was, to be honest, I was quite surprised because it's a rare occurrence in regards to normal society where the woman takes the woman takes the initiative. The women's takes the initiative. So, but yeah, just the fact that she was giving attention and asking questions, it was obvious to me. I was like, oh, boom, this is she's interested. And so, yeah, it's not to be taken for granted. And I'm really getting a sense, actually, as the more we talk, the reason why these things are so obvious, but yet not so obvious to a lot of men, is that men think of it from their point of view, and they're not thinking of it from a woman's point of view, that for a woman, they have to be very vulnerable to do these sort of things, to look even, to ask questions, to continue, because it's an expression of interest.
And it's exposing.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
Expose yourself to rejection or to be ignored or to nothing. Just to looking.
And as we say, questions, right? So you may be like, what kind of questions? I'm not saying, she's asking you what the time is or where is the nearest parking meter. Although, yeah, Dave actually made a note. Actually, to be fair, that can also be...
If someone stops you and asks you for the time, or any time asking you for the time, most people have watches and phones. They can check them quite easily. But to further Ahmad's point, if someone's asking you questions, they may be, asking what your passions are, what you love doing, maybe asking you about your family.
Yeah, asking more about you.
Yeah.
You see, there's the distinction. Yeah, there's a chance, because I know a lot of guys do this. They go over to a woman they like and they ask for directions, or they ask where the nearest toilet is, and they think that somehow that's going to start a conversation into something more and blossom into marriage. But it's I'm sure it's happened.
Get in touch with us. It's happened.
Yeah. Please do. But in this case, it's asking just something simple would be like asking on a particular day, asking about what are you up to later, what are you up to in general, asking where you're from, asking where you live, personal questions.
Yeah.
Things about you.
What are you doing tonight? Where do you live? Do you live alone? Do you have a double bed? Sorry,
we laugh, but actually, these are also questions that get asked. That I'm sure that these would be obvious, but then again, maybe not. So but see, this is what I'm saying. It's like these sort of questions, they're personal. The other thing as well is where and this gets overlooked for a different reason by men, but where a woman suggests that you should meet up, wanting to spend time with you, and some men can go, oh no, she's just a friend, or she's just being friendly. That's it. That's what I want to say. She's just being friendly. But again, you must understand, for a woman, it's not normally such a simple thing, because they're again being very vulnerable and exposing themselves.
Yeah.
And so if a woman suggests that she wants to meet up and spend time with you, it's more likely that she's interested in you than it is something else. It's more likely, I'd say. Yes, there's a chance that, maybe there's a job interview thingy, or there's something she wants from you,
or there's somewhere you can help her with her Instagram following or something like that.
Yeah, but in those cases, she'll probably tell you upfront, rather because again, if they haven't made that clear, they're exposing themselves to the chance that you're going to misunderstand. And there's so much of that going on that, it's one of those things that to you right now, it may feel like, oh, this is, I don't know, these are vague or not so obvious. But actually, the more you communicate, the more you understand, and you speak to your female friends, you start to understand that, like for women, it is a very exposing and sort of complex way of having to deal in society, that they can't just be like, oh, let's just hang out as friends, because guys do take it a certain way, or they may be giving off the wrong message.
I think more and more, and I kind of caveat this is like more and more in society, society's allowing women to take a more leadership role in the dating arena, but traditionally it's a place for a woman to give off very subtle signs. I am totally for the new paradigm we're moving into, where I feel that women will be making far more the leadership moves in dating. I think it, especially in the times after what's occurred around Me Too and so forth, it would be a very welcome thing for both men and women to have men and women be more on an equal footing in terms of dating leadership.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I know for sure that it's definitely coming, because there are now, how do you want to say, seminars?
Yeah,
there's websites, seminars, forums.
Mr. Hussey is running some great work for women.
Yeah,
I feel we're even helping in what we're doing. We've been, a lot of our listeners are women, and they love the work that we do. Mm-hmm. So
there's a lot, and I think thanks to the internet, actually, there is definitely a lot more information available to all genders. Sorry, not just both genders, all genders, all the genders of the rainbow. So then another thing I want to say about attention, which is more on the digital side of things, is liking Facebook and Facebook posts and Instagram stalking and all those things.
Yeah, it's a big one, actually. It's like, I'm sure you can find an article out there saying, oh, if she's liking all my posts, does that mean she likes me? Well, someone doesn't have to like all your posts and comment on all your stuff. And when you start seeing this happening, it means that, they're taking an interest in you. They are taking some form of interest in you and what you're posting and what you're doing. Again, it's a sign.
I would have to add to this one. So potentially this one is the weaker of the others that we're talking about, but we're putting it in there. We're suggesting it's not to be overlooked, because it's definitely something that, and if it happens over a length of time, not just like one day, someone's liked a few of your posts and then you're like, okay, she likes me. No, like we're saying in this case, it's like over a length of time, you find that there's a particular person who's, she's followed you for a while, she's liked a lot of your posts, then it's a sign of interest.
Yeah, totally. So now we're going to move into kind of the physical realm of things that happen. We're just gesticulating with our hands vigorously. Physically, we're touching ourselves, so appropriately only.
One of my favorite ones in regards to physical signs, when you're, maybe this is something where you haven't spoken to this person before. And this can happen on, maybe in a bar or a club, but equally in the library or anywhere in the world where you could be standing or sitting, and this girl happens to sit near you or be in your vicinity and make an effort to be near you. This is, and I know this is way more obvious when you're on a dance floor in a club than it is anywhere else in the world, but it does apply.
Or if you're like, you rock up at your seminar early, there's 50 seats and you're one of the first 3 people there and people are scattered across the room,
Yeah.
And someone happens to sit right next to you or a seat away from you, or, you know, I always look at it this way. It's like, you know, if you're sitting down and there's 10 seats and you're in one of them, there are 9 other seats that someone could choose to sit in. If they sit on, you know, the ones that are really close to you, they've made a choice there, a decision to do so. It's not like when you get onto a packed tube and it's busy and someone's rubbed up against you and you think, oh, she must be really interested in me because she's come and stood right next to me. Yeah. That might not be quite the same, though there are instances where it may also be applicable. But we're talking kind of in the realms of what we used to call proximity. And it's just where someone, a woman in this instance, places herself near you when there are plenty of other places to be. And it might even be in your direct eye line. It's something I know. I've spoken to women and they've told me that they deliberately do this with men. They will stand directly in their eye line so that, you know, when the guy looks up, he'll be able to see her, or they'll be kind of next to them at a bar and find a reason to kind of bump into them or something like that.
Yeah. So the next one is when you're on a date, so you actually know the person, and you're in a conversation. You spend some time with that person. So the most obvious thing, and this sounds almost stupid to say, but it bears saying, and actually this was an important lesson for me at one point in my life, was that she's still on a date with you and she hasn't left.
Yes.
It's very important.
Yes.
You may think, no, but I'm boring and she's just being polite and this and that. But no, seriously, many women will just up and leave if they're not interested. And if
they're truly not interested, and if they're, even by staying and being polite, they're still giving themselves the opportunity to be interested, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a really, really important thing to also be kind of conscious of.
And I say, like, it's kind of embarrassing for me because, you know, very early on, this is why even this whole topic was very interesting to me. I just say I was eager to speak on this topic, was because many years ago at university, I was on a date with this girl. Well, I say date, but like I was at her apartment and in her dorm.
A little DVD and chill.
Yeah. Little DVD. But I was very young and naive. And literally, I must have been in that room for like 4 or 5 hours. One afternoon, we were watching movies. And
anything good? Did you watch?
I can't remember. I was too concerned about when to make a move. And so genuinely, I was, you know, back to, you know, the first point about being too shooken in my head. That's why I know so much about it. And so I'm a master of shook man. I know him very well. We're good friends. We meet regularly. So, but now, so back to the example was, so I was in her room and I think but towards the end of the time there, you know, I went in for a kiss and we kissed briefly, but nothing much more happened. But for like the first 3 hours, like nothing, zero. And the whole time I was like, I can't tell, like when does she like me? Like at what point? Like what? I need a sign. Give me a sign.
God, please give me a sign. Lightning.
Yeah.
A falling star.
Like just give me some sort of sign. And afterwards I left. And I was frustrated and I was like, fuck, like, you know, I wish I'd known sooner, this, that. How could I have known? What signs were there? And I messaged a friend and he was like, wait, you were in the room with her? I was like, yeah. It's just you two? He was like, yeah. He was like, dude, that was a sign.
Totally.
That was a sign.
Total sign.
And I was like, oh, of course. Big lesson. I think, you know, sometimes that's how, well, I don't know about sometimes, that's how I always learn is I make stupid errors. And then it's like, oh, and that's why I'm now sitting here today going, you may not think it's obvious, but I'm telling you right now, the listener, it's obvious. Because again, going back to what I've been saying, the kind of, it's not like I didn't even know this was a kind of theme, but it's become a theme of this one, is women don't just do stuff to just do it. And it's very exposing, vulnerable for them to do that.
Especially for a woman to have a man in her room. A man in her room. It's, you know, it's a very, I'm not going to say a perilous situation.
No.
But it's more like, you know, she's chosen for you to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she wants you there and she likes your company.
Yeah, man, I'm feeling bad about it. I feel bad about it now.
I imagine a few years ago, what I'd have said to him, I'd have slapped him and told him, you know, you were rude. The poor woman wanted you there. She probably wanted to have sex and enjoy the evening. And all you did was kiss her. She must have felt so disappointed
So, you know, Dave has said this to me before, and it was for a different scenario, but, you know, we only have so much time right now. It was another time in China, and...
oh, this is a good one.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go into it now.
We'll tell that story. We'll have a special episode just for that story.
I will tell stories about my terrible dating life, and how I became who I am today.
And we'll point out how we could have made changes in those various points.
Yeah, we'll use me as a test dummy. So there you go. So physically, you're still in the same area.
Yeah.
Whether you've just started talking to her and you're still in the communication, you're still talking to her and she hasn't left, or you're on a date and she hasn't left, you're still there together. She hasn't left. Opportunity, interest.
She's interested.
So next one,
because Ahmad's been talking a lot, and I see he's tired from his talking. Is body language. And I know there's a lot about body language. There's loads about body language. And being open body language, closed body language. But here we're just going to talk about mirroring, because it's something that we do when we're interested and we like someone, we start to mirror their body language. Whether you're standing and you start standing in the same way and so forth. It's just something it's blind. It can be blindingly obvious if you're present. If you just be present for a moment and just take your scene in, you know, there's a woman standing in front of you, you're at the bar, and you're in midway conversation, and you see how both of you have got your arm kind of rested in the same way against the bar. If you just take a few seconds and just take that in, as well as listen to her, you'll be like, oh wow, okay, we've got exactly the same body language here. Boom, another sign. That's a sign from God, that one.
Yeah, it's actually, again, it's another one where I'd say it's one of those involuntary ones. It's not something someone does actively.
Yeah.
They can't help but do it.
Yeah. So it really all tells you that sometimes that interest, they're not even necessarily aware of their interest in you. It could be, you know, it's physiological.
It's like they feel, it's a sign that they feel comfortable, they feel relaxed, they're in tune, they're aligned with the conversation and you and stuff. So it's a really cool one.
So the next one is, and this one might always be so obvious, but they're touching you. Oh. You know, it could just be that as they're talking to you, they rest a hand on your leg. I put my hand on Ahmad's leg there just to emphasize a point. You know, and that's another one, emphasizing points through touch and, you know, leaning against you. And it can really move further up the chain to they have their arm around you. They're sitting on your lap. You know, these levels of touching are signs, you know, and sometimes as men, you kind of brush them off as, oh, she just does that. You know, it was an accident. You know, all these sorts of things. There is something I know, a man called Mark Gambler.
No, I don't know.
Richard Gambler used to say it was micro-kino.
Oh, yes.
Which we were big fans of micro-kino. We used to love to joke about it. But it's like, you know, sometimes where your leg rests against someone else's leg, you know, under a table, just gently. You know, things like that. It's like really tiny things. But the touching, if someone's touching you, again, a woman's touching you, it's a sign that they like you.
I think I'll let you take this next point. I think you like this one.
So this is another one that kind of occurs in conversation, and I find this one kind of comes with the puppy dog eyes as well. You're talking to a woman. It could be, like I said, it could be date. It could be anywhere, apart from probably with your boss, because that might be a bit strange.
It still happens though. It can still happen.
It could happen, yeah.
Yeah.
If this happens with your boss, you should report her instantly. No. So you're talking and the woman's repeatedly looking at your lips. You know, this is a sure sign. This is a sign from the gods that she's considering kissing you, or what it would be like to kiss you.
And actually, and again, it's another one where it's involuntary. So this is not, you know, this is not something people. And you'll notice now, you know, if you've never heard of this before, you'll notice how often it doesn't happen. Yeah. So when it does happen, you'll notice that it's an involuntary thing that just occurs. And this is actually, when David said it's a sign from the gods, this is way better than touching. That it's actually way better because it's a highly sexually initiated feeling in a woman that she then feels that she wants to.
So it's like an urge.
That's one. Yeah. So it comes from deep within, because a lot of the thing is about touching is, yes, touching is a very good indication of comfort and that they, you know, that they feel good with you. But the looking at the lips is a sexual urge that like they may not even have recognized, but then boom,
it's happening.
It's happening. It's on.
Let's get it on. Yeah. Yeah, so the licking the lips is
obvious.
a huge one. It's a very obvious sign.
Yeah.
I'm hoping you guys have got, guys and girls as well, this stuff is really relevant for women as well. Hope you've got pens and pads and you're writing this all down, because you could go out, next time you go out, you can have this as a little pen and pad checklist.
Everyone likes a checklist.
Everyone likes a checklist. But no, I joke there. So our next big feature on this is language, and kind of when someone's talking to you.
Yeah, we said language, but it's more like in communication and in vocally. And so number one, we say language, but actually number one is like when a woman is listening to you avidly, paying attention. We could have put it into the giving you attention thing, but it's got its own subsection. And it's just, when they're really interested in what you're saying, curious, goes back to the asking questions thing, but it's just really intent. So
it's kind of like in our, you'd say, Ahmad, it's for our episode, I think it was 5, when we talked about secrets to good conversation. And one of them in there was listening. One of the most important things in that episode is listening, as well as some of the other things in there. And that's like a sign of interest, listening avidly. And what would you say are kind of key markers that someone's listening to you avidly?
Well, they're actually taking an interest in what you're saying. They're not even interrupting necessarily, or asking. They're not necessarily even asking questions, but they're really focused. They're not. So it's so easy in today's society that people get distracted whilst having a chat. They might be looking at their phone or looking around the room and whatever, but actually paying attention. And the thing is, for yourself now as I'm talking, that when you're interested in someone, how do you pay attention? And I'm talking to you, not David. So you're the listeners.
Like, what
so
do you guys do?
How do you feel and how do you react? You actually pay attention. You look. You probably even look at her lips. When you're really interested. And it's just something that happens. And it's a weird one because in terms of involuntary action. But this is also involuntary. It's another one where when you're interested in something or someone, even if you're online watching something on a video. When you're really interested, you do what? You really pay attention. You might even pause that motherfucker and rewind it, But in this case, in communications, to realize that women put a lot of importance on listening. So when they're really interested in someone, what are they going to do?
Listen.
There you go.
Yeah. So the next one, I'm smiling.
What is it, Dave? What's the next one?
We gave this a name years ago.
You gave us a name.
Did I give us a name? We called it juking talk.
You called it.
So it's...
Explain what juking is.
Juking is, in, like, my family are from Jamaica, and often the word juk, it kind of means to poke. So you can clearly understand that juking became synonymous with having sex. So, we were immature and we were young, but we've kind of kept the term. It works.
So what's juking talk?
Juking talk is like you're talking to a woman and she starts to she uses very suggestive language, maybe sexually charged language.
Like what? What would be an example?
Oh, wow.
Actually, we've got some examples here.
Have we got examples? I'm thinking... I've had it where women have gone to me, what size shoe are you? And I'm like, okay. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like a size 10. And they're like, and then there's just kind of a look of like a cheeky nod to kind of nod to the size of, because what they say about men with big shoes.
Big feet.
Big feet. Exactly.
Yeah, and then what?
The other foot.
I think that was a bit vague for the listeners.
No. There's that idea of people with big feet have big penises.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah.
I've got big feet, actually.
No, your feet are quite small.
Size 10. 11 on some shoes. Some brands.
But, that sort of thing, or kind of bringing up sex, maybe unnecessarily, or even, bringing up the topic of sex. It's not something that people are generally very au fait with doing. Kind of talking about sex with someone they don't know very well yet. And we kind of just use this kind of suggestive language.
Yeah. I think especially if the topic of sex is so freely discussed and spoken about, but especially if they tell you that they think that you're nice or that you're sexy or even just like discussing your physical appearance.
Yeah.
Like just that openness, that sort of boldness.
It's a boldness from a woman and it also comes from you as a man being kind of non-judgmental and open to that as well. If a woman knows that you're not going to judge her for being a sexual being, and you're just going to kind of accept that and play with that too, that's what you're going to receive.
And another one that's maybe less obvious, but I really like it, is you're not like other guys.
Yeah.
That one is, again, it's just kind of singling you out
as being special.
Yeah, exactly. We're doing very well at finishing sentences today, Dave.
I am.
Yeah, you're very good.
We're doing good.
Very good. So yeah. So what actions do we have on this one? So.
Oh yeah. So it's just to stop there. Like we've gone over a lot of points. We've gone over a lot of kind of, what would you call them? Signs. Signals to see if a woman actually likes you, and it's important to kind of take these as a whole. I know you said at the beginning, but again, it's like, say for instance you're on a date and she's still there, that's it's a good sign. But if she's also kind of turned her back to you and looking towards the door, that might not be such a good sign. You're going to see a multiple of these signs to give you a straight indication that she likes you. Like if you go into work tomorrow and, I don't know, one of the girls comes up to you and goes, "Hey, how are you?" You can't take that, assume that she wants you, and you can't sweep her off her feet and take her to the nearest hotel or something like that, because that's not quite in the remit. But we're meaning as a whole. When you see multiple of these signs, then you can tell that someone's interested in you. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So it definitely is one of those things where you can't just single out and isolate. You have to consider as a whole. And it also occurs to me now to say this, because often when someone is asking me whether I think a girl is interested in them or not, like they'll give me a scenario, they were in a coffee shop and the person was talking to them for long and this and that. And I'm like, well, there's a good chance. The number one thing about any of these signs or anything, when you put it all together, it doesn't mean anything unless you are willing to take the step. Because as we've mentioned, that for a lot of women, they're going to expose themselves in this way, by looking, by being near, by talking, by just giving you an opportunity.
Yeah.
And if you don't, when opportunity comes knocking, if you don't open a door, walk through it, like, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
So none of these signs mean anything unless you take the chance, and there's always going to be a risk. Like this doesn't mean you're going to be risk free.
Yeah. There's always going to be that risk of rejection, or someone going, "Oh, I'm not actually that interested in you," or leaving the date or whatever. But actually, I think we're going to do another episode on rejection, but actually you should embrace the rejection.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing. And the point being here is less about, being open to rejection is definitely there, but it's also like, be open to rejection, but actually take the step to then take hold of the chance of the opportunity that she's interested in you. Don't go, "Oh, okay, I've got 2 of these signs, I'll wait till there's 3, and then, or I'll wait till she comes over and basically lays it on a plate." That rarely ever happens. There's a lovely proverb, a Chinese proverb that again, I don't know where it comes from, but it's beautiful, and it says, "A man will wait a long time standing with his mouth open before a roast duck flies into it."
I love that. I love that. I might get a tattoo. I love that.
So yeah, and it just occurs to me now, because so often, people are like, "Oh, what are the signs? What are the signs? What are the signs?" It doesn't mean anything unless you're willing to act on it.
Yeah, take action.
Yeah. So just to recap then, what have we discussed today? We've covered a lot of ground, but we really wanted to give you an overall view of the signs. We put them into different categories. So in looking, the different categories are looking, giving you attention, the physical signs, and then language. So back to looking is whether she looks at you, and she looks at you for longer than necessary. Now, for men who love numbers, Dave said that was up to, was it
second and a half?
A second and a half. That's not a lot of time. There's not even enough time to get your iPhone out to measure it. So you have to really be present to when a woman is looking, so that you can actually see that. And in a conversation, if she's really become besotted and enthralled in your conversation, this is an obvious sign. So then moving on to giving you attention. If a woman is standing around and wanting to talk to you more, this is a really obvious sign that she's interested, whether she starts asking you more questions, wanting to know more about you personally, not just about where the nearest post office is. This is a good sign. If she's asking you about you, where you're from, where you're up to, where you live, all these things are signs of interest, and spending more time. And then the physical stuff was physically being close to you, like, yeah, whether she's spoken to you or not, like physically being close and wanting to kind of get your attention by just being in your area, in your space. And if you're on a date or in a conversation and they haven't left you, this is a powerful sign.
And then you've got something like mirroring, where someone's matching your body language, touching you, that may be emphasizing points or just kind of leaning against you. One of our old favorites, I think, is looking at your lips. That's an incredibly important one to see. And then there's the language or the way someone's talking. So someone's listening to you avidly, whether it's kind of on a date or in a conversation. Also being suggestive and provocative, which I think I really love. When I'm in a conversation with a woman and she becomes suggestive and provocative and playful, I think it's something that's really beautiful to experience. And these are surefire signs, like these are ironclad signs. If you're getting like a ton of these together, that, the woman you're talking to is really interested in you.
Yeah, and genuinely, the more you get out there, the more you talk, these are the easiest signs you can spot. And literally, it will make you smile, giddy inside like a small child in a sweet shop when you start to see how obvious these signs are.
Totally. And I think, so we're going to give you guys an action, something we want to go away and take and do when you're going to go out on a date this week, or maybe you are going out with a group of friends and to a restaurant or something like that. And I'd like you to spend, 3 minutes on your own in your given place. It might be, if you're on a date, you can be with your date and that's fine. But if you're kind of, single and you're looking around, is just be present to the women around the bar. Look at them, look at what, have that peripheral vision. You just see people doing what they're doing, and also catching eye contact with people for them to be looking at you, so that you can start to spot some of these signs. And for those of you on a date, or you're going to be kind of in conversation, start to look for some of the signs that we suggested, like it might be some touching or mirroring of body language, or it might be kind of asking questions, but just be really present and in the moment to what's happening.
Yeah, and especially if you're on a date and she's looking at your lips.
Yes. Like, just add a layer of presence and kind of get out of your head and your concerns for what people might be thinking about you or what you're thinking about them, and just be with what's occurring around you.
Cool, guys. That's been How to Tell If a Woman Likes You. If you like this episode, please follow us on Instagram. That's @AuthenticDatingSeries. You can also send us questions there. We're constantly putting out good content and even videos now. So yeah, follow, subscribe, head over to iTunes and subscribe as well, so you get the latest updates. We're posting weekly.
Yeah, and also, tell a friend, tell someone you feel that would be really helped by what we've got. We've got like a back catalogue of content, which we think is amazing. I feel that sometimes people feel a little bit of shame when it comes to kind of not being complete proficient in dating, but no one is. Like, even we sit here and we give advice, and we're not perfect. None of us are perfect, and it's really good to acknowledge that no one's perfect and everyone could do with some help. So share our content with people, whether it be on your Facebook or whether you're on Instagram. And like Ahmad said, come and have a chat with us on Instagram. We love having any conversations about dating, and you can find us and follow us. So I think that's a wrap today.
All right, ciao guys.
Okay, ciao.